I am aware that you guys are going to be very upset at Jailton Almeida tonight, all right? That Jailton Almeida fan club definitely lost a few of its members, to say the least, okay? But not me. Not me. And I know that the fight sucked, okay? The Derrick Lewis fight is not something that you're going to want to have on repeat tomorrow or the day after. I totally understand that. You're probably only going to want to watch it a couple of times. Not even. But guys, yes, the fight sucked. Yes, I thought that Jailton Almeida was going to go out there and cut through Derrick Lewis like butter. But come on, man. This is the first flop he's had in his entire career, and you have to look at it this way. All right? He was on his way to getting a 50-41, for Christ's sakes. Jailton Almeida is 236 pounds weighing in. Okay, he's not cutting down to 236. Derrick Lewis cuts down to 265 pounds. And I promise you, I'm not just coping with the fact that I wanted Jailton Almeida to do better than that. But guys, this guy went out there, picked up the 280-plus pound Derrick Lewis. I guarantee you he was at least 275. He had a 40-pound weight disadvantage, and he went out there, dunked underneath Derrick Lewis's knockout power shots, picked him up, and slammed him on the ground, rinse and repeat for 5 fucking rounds, okay? He is a heavyweight grappler that does not gas out after holding a massive Derrick Lewis down, which is pretty difficult to do when you're giving up 40 pounds. You know how many times I've seen Derrick Lewis just stand up when guys have taken him down that have maybe a 10-pound weight disadvantage, a 20-pound weight disadvantage? How about a 40-pound weight disadvantage and hardly any striking on the feet behind it? Now, we finally saw Jailton Almeida land a left hook. But other than that, I was very disappointed in the urgency, the lack of a killer instinct from him. I think that's what was missing, because it was very clear after the first couple of rounds that he just wasn't going to submit Derrick Lewis, who just doesn't have a neck. And Derrick Lewis is just so stubborn down there, and I think he has been working a lot on his submission game. But I was expecting just a little bit more ground and pound, man. Just a little bit more urgency, because it wasn't one of those situations where if there was any space between Jailton and Lewis, Lewis is getting up to his feet. There were plenty of moments where Jailton Almeida was, getting his hands trapped by Lewis, and he was posturing up, and he had his hands on Derrick's neck and whatnot, and every now and then the ref would say, do something, and we'd see Jailton Almeida snatch his hand out of there and land a little pepper shot on the body. I just wish we were to see more of that, because there was a couple of moments in this fight where Almeida was actually raining down some good shots while Mark Goddard was yelling at him, of course. But I just think that now I understand that the fight sucked. I'm totally aware of that. I thought he was going to go out there and finish Derrick Lewis with ease. DC went out there and finished Derrick Lewis with ease. Sergey Spivak went out there and finished Derrick Lewis with ease. It's not a great look, but I think he can do this to Ciryl Gane. And I think unlike the Derrick Lewis that has no neck, I think he might even take Ciryl Gane out and sub him. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, guys. It's that we just saw Jailton Almeida go out there for 5 rounds. At the start of every single round, starting on the feet with Derrick Lewis, where he has to also avoid the KO threat, and he has to duck under a shot and try to take him down. And even in the 5th round, when he's a little bit tired, and Derrick Lewis, and we know how 5th round totally dominated, washed out Derrick Lewis does when his back is against the wall. And you guys know what I'm talking about when I mention that 5th round totally dominated Derrick Lewis. That should be a mythical fighter. He just gains, his power comes back tenfold in that moment when he's totally dominated and out of the fight. For Jailton Almeida to go out there at the start of every round to evade the KO and to take down a massive guy in Derrick Lewis down with double legs, where he's coming right at him. There's no sneaky setups. He's just coming right at him, bulldozing him, picking him up, holding him down. That's a hard guy to hold down. That's impressive. He's not gassing out, right? We talk about how Jailton Almeida is probably on that sauce. He probably is. He has great cardio. He has great strength, and he can grapple hard for 5 rounds. That's very rare to see. Yes, I was trolling my chat a little bit and saying, well, Sergey Spivak got lucky because he knew he wouldn't be able to do it for 5 rounds. It wasn't that impressive. But I do think that Jailton Almeida could go out there and take Gane down, because this is the thing about Ciryl Gane, right? And that's the guy that he called out, and I'd love to see him fight Gane Gane's probably going to duck him. Gane probably wants to get a title shot off of beating Muhammad Usman at this point. What's Ciryl Gane going to do to stop this? I understand Jailton Almeida is not going to go out there and beat Tom Aspinall. Like, Aspinall probably isn't getting finished, right? He's probably not going to get subbed because we just saw Derrick Lewis survive. And Derrick Lewis, say what you want. I know he doesn't have a neck, but, you know, he's been subbed before. He's been subbed by Sergey Spivak, who we think of as like a poor man's heavyweight grappler. I just don't know what Gane does to this guy. Like, what is Gane going to do? Is Gane going to leap in the air and land a Jorge Masvidal flying knee? Does Gane have this, like, disgusting power in his hands? And I understand Gane has knocked a couple of guys out, but it's like, yeah, he had to land 1,000 shots before that. And that's when he's lethal. Of course, if you can't get the takedown on Gane, then you're subject to taking 1,000 strikes to the chin, to the body, and whatnot. That sucks. But I think that Jailton Almeida is going to duck under a strike of Ciryl Gane, take his ass down, and keep him there. That's all I'm saying. If he's strong enough to hold down Derrick Lewis, I think he'll be strong enough to hold down Ciryl Gane. And some of you guys may mention, well, Gane showed that he can stuff the takedowns from Sergey Spivak, and he was able to improve his takedown defense. But Sergey Spivak is the judo guy. He gets a hold of you in the clinch, and he trips you or he hip tosses you. Jailton Almeida runs at you and bulldozes you to the ground with an athletic double leg. Jailton Almeida isn't going to get stopped by anyone in this division unless we're talking about someone like John Jones and maybe Sergey Spivak. No, not Sergey Spivak, I don't think. Maybe, actually, you know what? That'd be an interesting one, but I meant to say Sergey Pavlovich or Tom Aspinall. The good thing for Jailton is that Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich are going to be the only tough matchups for him because John Jones is going to retire soon. And I really do think he goes out there and bulldozes Gane. Again, 235 pounds, shredded at heavyweight, one of the strongest guys in the division. People were questioning his strength. What about now? As I said, man, this dude is unbelievably strong. He's just not obese like these other heavyweights. So Gane is going to struggle with the double legs. He will duck this fight for the rest of time. And again, yes, it was a very boring fight, but I do not think that Jailton Almeida is going to be some decision merchant. You know, people were calling Corey Sandhagen a decision merchant after his Rob Font performance, but it's like he's had a lot of decisions before then. Jailton Almeida has finished every single one of his opponents ever before this fight. So it is what it is. Boring fight for Almeida, but he's going to dominate everyone in the division except for Pavlovich maybe, and probably not Aspinall. But I'm not as confident in his ability to become a champion anymore after this, unless Pavlovich chins Aspinall, and that's the matchup for Almeida when he gets to the belt. And maybe Pavlovich won't be able to stop the double leg, and he's not going to have the jiu-jitsu to survive the ground game, where it's one of those weird situations where Derrick Lewis survived it, but maybe Pavlovich can't. You never know. Let's get on to the next one. Abus Magomedov and Cal Borralho. Cal Borralho really impressed me tonight. I picked Abus Magomedov. I was thinking that, you know, he gassed out against Sean Strickland because, number one, Sean Strickland's almost impossible to hit. And number two, it was a big moment. He wasn't ready for it. The spotlight was too much for him, and he had an adrenaline dump. He came into this fight, really patient approach, took the first round, and I was thinking to myself, all right, this is great. He's going to be able to last 3 rounds. He just gassed out last time, as I said, because he had an adrenaline dump. But even with a patient approach, yeah, he's not going to gas out in the first, but he'll gas out in the second and third. And that's essentially what happened. Abus Magomedov got tired, but it's not just that he got tired. He got dominated in the third round, and I'm going to attribute that to Cal Borralho being better than I thought. Okay, I was a little bit salty after this because for whatever reason, I was very reluctant to give Cal Borralho some credit. He didn't look this good in his striking leading up until this fight. His striking has been slowly improving, but he actually looked good tonight because I've been saying this about Cal. He always looks like he's biding his time on the feet. Okay, and as a grappler, he's okay. People talk about, decision merchant. Jailton Almeida is not a decision merchant. Cal Borralho is a fucking decision merchant. The guy has 1 finish in the UFC out of his 5 first fights. But anyway, back to my point. Cal Borralho on the feet actually looked good. He's no longer biding his time and just floating around the octagon. He actually went out there, imposed his will, sat on his jab. His jab looked amazing in this fight. Really impressive lead hand from Cal Borralho. And that's a whole new weapon that I'm going to take into account moving forward because he really looked like he gained a lot of confidence. And then once Abus got tired, Cal started walking him down, teeing off on him up against the fence, and just dominated the fight from there. Talked a little bit of shit in Abus's ear, which was interesting. I would love to know what he was saying to him. Maybe you guys are good lip readers. Let me know in the comments. But he was saying something to Abus. And then he called out Dricus du Plessis, which is just a totally wasted call out. You're not fighting Dricus du Plessis. Let's match up Cal Borralho with like Joe Pyfer or Roman Kopylov. Cal Borralho is better than I thought. Abus Magomedov, I originally thought he was a fraud. He got fraud checked by Strickland. Then I thought, oh, maybe he's a little bit underrated. Just because you lose to Sean Strickland doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be terrible. But he has no gas tank. He's like a worse version of Zabit when it comes to his gas tank. And it's bad news for him. So looking forward to Cal's next fight. Looked better than ever on the feet. Let's get into the fraud check of the night, which was Bonfim. Gabriel Bonfim getting fraud checked by Nicolas Dalby. Bonfim dominated the fight early on. He went out there, dominated the first round, landed a lot of good shots on the feet, showcased some good boxing. Dalby doesn't have a lot of power in his hands, but neither does Bonfim, because Bonfim was not stinging Dalby with anything. He wasn't hurting him with anything, so that's something that I'm going to take into account moving forward, is that Gabriel Bonfim doesn't have a ton of power in his hands, but he got the takedown and starts easily, effortlessly out-grappling Dalby. Dalby's doing everything in his power to scramble up to his feet, trying to find ways to create some space between him and Bonfim was just a step ahead at all times, threatening submissions. Then the round ends. Second round begins. Bonfim goes out there. Looks like it's going to be a rinse and repeat round. Takes Dalby down. Dalby gets back up to his feet early on and then starts putting that pressure on him, putting that Nicolas Dalby pressure on Gabriel Bonfim, and just starts breaking him in close quarters, in the clinch, walking him down, landing big knees, body shots, you name it, and Bonfim's body language falls off of a cliff, gets TKO'd, and that's that. Nicolas Dalby gets the first ever finish in his UFC career, and that is the second fraud check we've had from one of the Bonfim brothers, and I picked Gabriel Bonfim to go out there and finish Nicolas Dalby, but I said if he doesn't finish Nicolas Dalby early on, he's going to be in trouble because Dalby has a great gas tank. Elves, Brenner, and Khrushchevsky, okay? Elves Brenner had an amazing performance, okay? 165 pounds, looked a little bit small compared to his opponent, but I think that's just because, again, he's been cutting weight to 155 up until the last second. His opponent was less trained. But I liked to see him change it up this time because when he fought Guram Kutateladze, his game plan was pretty basic. Just march forward, put pressure on Guram, take him down every now and then and whatnot. We didn't see any grappling from Elves Brenner here, but instead we saw him on the back foot looking to counter, and essentially it was this push and pull dynamic in this fight. And when he would crash forward, he was throwing the same kind of combination. It was like the overhand right, dip the head off to the side, and throw the left hook. And that's essentially what got him the knockout, clipping the equilibrium right behind the ear of Khrushchevsky, flatlining him. So I thought it was a really good performance from Elves Brenner, showcasing yet again that he can impose his will in a different way altogether. This push and pull thing that he had going on. And I think I'd like to see him fight Benoit Saint Denis down the line, or maybe Drew Dober. I would love to see him fight Drew Dober. That'd be a banger. I think that Benoit Saint Denis, if he beats Matt Frevola, is actually going to be a little bit higher up there in the division. But hey, man, Elves Brenner just beat Guram Kutateladze, who in a way is kind of on a similar level to Matt Frevola, and now he's got himself another KO win. He might be too far ahead of someone like Drew Dober, but very impressed by him. Another shoot box guy that is on top. Let's get to the next fight. Rinat Fakhretdinov and Dos Santos, man. I wasn't live streaming for this. I had actually just filmed my video for Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira to break the news, and I was in the process of posting the video while watching this fight, and the first thing I see is Rinat Fakhretdinov send Dos Santos flying in the first 30 seconds, drops him badly, beats him up on the ground. It looks like the fight's going to end. It's a 10-8 round in my opinion. Rinat Fakhretdinov goes out there, wins the second round, and then I start making the title and the description for my video in the third, and I look up to the screen, and I realize that Dos Santos is landing some shots. So I'm like, all right, let me take my eyes off of my computer and actually just watch this. And Dos Santos just starts peppering him and he lands a nasty front kick to the body, which is what he was going to a lot in the second round. It drops Rinat Fakhretdinov, and he beats the fuck out of him, takes his back, almost submits him, almost TKOs him as well, and they go to a draw. I actually think Rinat should have won this fight, okay? The reason why I think he should have won this fight is because I had that first round at 10-8. I had the second round at 10-9 to Rinat. The third round was a 10-8. I understand why it would be a draw if the first round's not a 10-8 for Rinat, but it was pretty goddamn dominant, man. I would score it a 10-8. I think Rinat should have got the job done. Yes, it's a fraud check. A lot of people are jumping off of the Rinat Fakhretdinov hype. I've always been off that Rinat Fakhretdinov hype. I know I picked Kevin Lee to beat him. That was a goofy pick. But I was saying leading up into this, I was like, dude, just because he beat Kevin Lee does not mean he's all that special. Like, he's good early on. He's still good. But people were acting like this was the next Khamzat Chimaev of the welterweight division. And we found out that instead of Rinat Fakhretdinov getting fraud checked when he's fighting a former champion like Kamaru Usman, he's getting fraud checked by Dos Santos, okay, who is essentially outside the rankings, who's not a guy that's really on anyone's radar as ever getting to the top of the rankings. He's on the older side as well. You know, I still think Rinat's decent. I don't know how old he is. I think he's like 30 years old, 31. I hope he's not in his 20s because he would look like the oldest 29-year-old guy I've ever seen in my entire life. He looks like he's fucking 50. But I think Rinat's still really good. But again, man, it's just like, wait until he actually beats someone that's decent. And I know he beat Brian Battle and he beat him up badly, but Brian Battle is still young. He's still green. Rinat has more experience than him. Rinat's still powerful. He's still dangerous, but his grappling, it's not that elite. Like, he's got good control. He's strong. He's got good takedowns, but his grappling, he's not out here just mauling people and submitting them with ease. And then on the feet, yeah, he's okay. He's powerful. He's fast, but an overhand can only take you so far. Kind of a rough card to watch overall. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, though. Until next time.
What is up, guys? It's Lucas Tracy MMA here, and I want to let you guys know that I have something for you, and that's a real food cookbook. Because if you're walking around looking like Chris Dawkins, you got to get that weight off. I don't know if you think you're DC or something, but most people usually don't perform at their best when they're walking around with 30% body fat. So if you're trying to lean out and you still want to eat good, tasty comfort foods, well, you could check out my Real Food Cookbook, because I've made it a purpose to have good, tasty foods that you can still eat just without all the processed bullshit, without all the processed ingredients like soy and seed oils. So guys, check out the Real Food Cookbook. Use code MMA for 30% off. The link is in my description. Don't forget that discount.